Okay, so now I'm very excited. I'll invite Zack to the stage, I should say, for the interview. So, Zack, if you like to unmute yourself and just say hello.
Thanks, Natalie. Very, very nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Fantastic. So let me bring I can see you now. Yeah, I had this Zoom record is slightly different, so I actually can see everyone, but I can see Zack as well. So let me grab my cheat sheets to introduce Zack. So, so Zack is he recently joined Sistema AI as the CIO, but he had been a CIO for a long time. He's also the creator of the 3D Lean. And he's one of our champions here at the Mindful CIO. So Zack, you will notice a little bit of an accent as well. He's originally from Germany. I found out today, stalking him on LinkedIn, he speaks 5 languages, Zack. So you are officially a polyglot, right? Very impressive. He has 3 kids, which are not that young, which gives a little bit his age. So he's not as young as he looks. I realized that when he told me the age of his kids. And so you can learn more about Zack checking his bio on the Mindful CIO website, or of course on LinkedIn as well. And he has written a very reasonable number of articles on LinkedIn. So if you want to learn more about his leadership philosophy and his way of thinking, that's a good thing to do. I highly recommend. He has really good articles published there on LinkedIn. Okay, so welcome, Zack. And let's get started with a question around your mantra. So in your bio, you said that the mantra stop starting, start finishing. You mentioned that mantra in your bio, which tells me that focus is very important for you. And a sharper laser focus is one of the traits that we advocate in the Mindful CIO Manifesto. So tell us about this mantra. What does it mean to you? Stop starting and start finishing. What does it mean to you?
Stop starting, start finishing. That's something I came in touch with over 10 years ago when I was working at eBay in Germany. And we were working with a number of agile coaches, and we were introduced to this concept, of course, in the scope of lean and the queuing theory and limiting work in progress, all things that were quite new at the time. And it was something like a technical mantra for a more process kind of issue. But the more I looked into this, the more I actually found it is not addressing so much a process issue, it's addressing more and more a people issue. I realized that there's actually too much noise all around us all the time. There are too many distractions. There's always so much to do. We jump on a new thing. There's a fear of missing out, especially in tech companies today. Everyone runs after the latest trends and wants to be part of the next thing. What it leads to is something like a perpetual takeoff scenario. I'm always giving 100, 150% to get into the next thing without actually being able to finish something. And this coming back to the lean theory about limiting your work in progress, getting things done, was something that I found very, very important to instill into my team, not just to improve our throughput, but actually to get people back into a happy space. I found that once they can focus on a task, of course, the mind gets calmer. And you get also the satisfaction of getting things done. That's very, very important. And one other thing that comes with this mantra is, of course, I can only implement it if I have full transparency around the things that are going on. So if I don't know all the things that are on flight, how should I limit my work in progress? And that, of course, comes back to all kind of things around psychological safety, that we are open and honest to each other, that we are transparent, but also giving ourselves the trust to open up and say, actually, I have 5 other tasks here. And coming back to stop starting, start finishing, that led to many little improvements in my workspaces I introduced over the last 10 years in all the places I went to. Simple things like put everything into a ticket, no work without a ticket, make it visible, make it transparent. Once you have it in a ticket, it's also a tool to get it out of your mind into something as a temporary storage. So you clear your mind of all the clutter that might be running around there. And then you can pick a ticket that is currently you want to work on, and you can focus on this one alone, and therefore come back to a state where your mind is getting more focus, more peace, and of course the feeling of success of getting things done.
Thanks so much, Zack. I could comment on many things, but conscious of time. But two things that I want to touch on. The fear of missing out, I think, is very linked to what we talk about in the manifesto, the shiny object syndrome, focusing on critical projects or critical tasks. And your comment on accomplishment, this is very aligned with the PERMA model, using positive psychology for well-being, accomplishment, knowing that it's the dopamine that we get when we tick the box, but that really can help with people's well-being. So I couldn't agree more. Thank you. Next question I have, if I may, Zack, it's of course you have been successfully driving agile transformation for over 20 years, with startups, SMEs, as well as in corporate organizations, from bottom up as a technical leader, architect, as well as from top down as a senior manager and as an exec in Europe, in Australia. So would like to comment on that and maybe perhaps touch on your role at System AI as much or as little, because it's a brand new role still.
Yeah. When you mention agile transformations, and the different sizes of organizations I work for, what I learned over those years is that in principle, the principles are always the same. The principles don't change. I think what is different between those different organizations is the goal they try to achieve. In a startup, they want to retain this agility and transparent culture that is there right from the beginning, because by nature there are only 5 people in the room and everybody knows what's going on at all times. Whereas in smaller and medium-sized organizations, it's more a trend towards returning to this agility and culture, or reviving what they found at the beginning when they were still a startup. And in enterprises, you find more something like a trend where you try to remember what agility was actually all about, and then try to reform it into something that works at their scale. And this is where you find frameworks like SAFe and others that they try to instill a feeling of startup culture on an enterprise scale. But in principle, it's always the same. It's always about processes, people, and culture. And all these 3 things need to come together. And my role here at Systema AI, I find it's very exciting, because it's again a startup setup I haven't been working in for some time. And it's exciting, of course, because there's a lot of risk involved, and everything is a challenge. But at the same time, this is the right point in time where you set the course for the future. How do we retain our culture? How do we retain our agility? How do we retain our transparency whilst we are growing? Now is the time to get the right things into place. Not that we stand there 5 years later and wonder, how do we get back to this point?
Thanks, Zack. And it just occurred to me, I think I might share, and I'm not sure if I see Alexander, Jill, but I can't remember. There are a couple of Alexanders. Someone who worked with you and was, looking forward to attend, and he said that he had the honor to work with you. So I think nothing like, the spontaneous feedback from someone, about your leadership style. So clearly your team is very happy to work with you, Zack. So just some random comment before the next question. So during the working group feedback sessions, you expressed that how much you value the topics of sustainability and psychological safety. So would you like to comment on that, please?
Yes, of course. I think psychological safety is one of the big keys to success and to a healthy culture. And it's also coming back to stop starting, start finishing. As I said, we can only achieve it if we are fully transparent about the things that are going on. I can only be fully transparent and be fully open if I work in an environment where I can open up, where I don't need to be afraid of mentioning, oh, actually, I can't take this on right now. So that's a very key element. The other thing is, many of us probably work in agile environments or have worked in agile environments, and there is this mantra, fail fast, fail often. It's something we all know, and everybody nods and understands. Yes, of course, we remember Edison. No, I haven't failed. I have found 10,000 ways that didn't work. But when it comes to the implementation of these things, I found so many times in so many organizations that failure is still something being frowned upon. The moment I start failing, is suddenly it's not that open anymore, that culture. And therefore, psychological safety is, for me, as always, a very key element in my team, but also in the wider organization. And I find the underlying reason is always the same. It's fear. It might be fear of the old guard, where they learned a certain leadership style of keeping information together and sharing is weakness. Or is it the fear of the unknown? Because agility is something where I don't know all the answers. It's not waterfall where I try to find all the answers up front. So I have to manage the unknown to a degree. It's the fear of not being fully in control because I don't have all the answers. I have to share it with other experts in the room. And of course, it's a fear of change. That's just a human habit, but transparency and mindfulness lead us to a place where we can actually openly talk about this. It's not, fear is nothing bad. It just needs to be addressed, and we need to talk about this. And this is where psychological safety comes in, and we can actually create a workplace where we like to go to and work. And the other thing you mentioned, sustainability, is of course clearly connected to this. And sustainability is, for me, much more than just reducing fossil fuels and avoiding plastic pollution. That's probably what jumps to mind right away when someone says sustainability. But it's, for me, it's much more. I also refer to the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN, for example. They talk about no poverty, access to education and clean water, reducing or zero hunger in the world. These are all topics about sustainability. And you might wonder, what has it to do with me? Well, it has everything to do with me, because in the world in which we live today, we are all connected. I mean, I'm sitting here in my room, in my house, and I see people from all over the world on devices that have been produced probably in other parts of the world. And therefore, the connectivity between people is much higher than it was maybe 200 years ago. And what I do today has an impact on people thousands of kilometers away. And as a CIO, I'm sitting in a very interesting position here when it comes to sustainability. I can talk about my partnerships, my supply chain, my vendors, and I can look at how they are addressing, for instance, equality issues in their organization. Are they sourcing materials sustainable? All these elements we have an impact upon. And I'm very vocal about this, because for me, it comes down to the simple question, what world do I leave behind? Can I come home? Can I stand in front of my children, look them in the eyes with pride and say, yes, I'm proud of what I'm doing? Or do I have to crawl away in shame and say, sorry, guys, added another thing to the bucket list? And that's what it comes down to for me.
Fantastic. So much to comment, but I'm conscious of time. And I've noticed Barry had a question as well. Barry, just please hold on to a sec. I have just two more questions and this, I think, will be short and sharp. Zack, from the 10 declarations, which one is your top favorite? Alex, it's clapping. Which one, Zack, is your top favorite number one declaration for you, and why, Zack?
It's, I would say it's promote a healthy culture. And for me, it's just summing it up. to understand a healthy culture, I need to understand health, and I need to understand what health entails. And therefore I need to understand the being in question, meaning myself. I need to understand what does human health mean, first of all for me, and then what it means to others. And that means becoming aware of myself, becoming aware of my surroundings, and respecting the boundaries. We are not machines. We can't push ourselves endlessly. And health is a combination of internal and external factors. And promoting that is very important for, of course, the health itself, but also to create win-win situations. We are spending most of our waking hours at the workplace, so make it count.
Thank you, Zack. Very aligned with the principles. A particular model we have on the mind of the leader. Leadership starts with the self. So leading yourself, leading your team, leading the organization. But self-care is so important because of that. Next, short and sharp question. Zack, in a few words, what mindful leadership means to you?
Mindful leadership is, what does it mean to me? Unlocking our true potential, I'd say. Becoming who I want to be, and not just for myself, but as a leader, enabling others to become or to be who they want to be. And again, that requires transparency and honesty, and sometimes saying, well, it's maybe not the right place for you because you're not happy here. Be open about it. But most of the time, we can actually work with people around us and unlock their potential and see their individuality as a gift, as an opportunity.
Excellent potential. And why do you think the movement, the Mindful CIO movement is important, Zack? And why have you accepted to become a champion like Peter Orlowski as well here?
I think you mentioned it already in the preamble that the world is becoming faster and louder. There are distractions all around us. I have my phone lying here beside me. Might ring at any time. But that, of course, is a strain, a constant strain to our minds. And we are at risk of losing ourselves. We are at risk of not hearing our own thoughts and being not in touch with our own feelings anymore, because you're constantly under pressure from external influences. So mindful leadership and CIO, mindful CIO movement are important for us, for me, for all of us to become aware again, become aware of our strengths, but also of our weaknesses, become aware of the importance of mental health challenges and mental health issues, and to remind ourselves we are not out of control, although it might feel like this at times, that we're being pushed along all the time because things are happening again, and I have to keep up. Mindfulness reminds us that we can actually make a decision. We can be in control of our own lives. We can shape our own lives, and we can evolve ourselves and the teams around us together.
Brilliant. Yes, we can be the master of our minds. It takes effort, but it is possible, bit by bit. Thanks so much, Zack. Does anyone have a burning question or a question they would like to ask Zack? Please unmute yourself. Please go ahead, Barry. Please, you're being very patient. Thank you.
Well, thanks. That's okay. Zack, I've got a very quick question for you. In relation to the presence, so when you are working, I'm speaking mainly from experience with working with large companies, where you have a multi-team. In other words, you have to have not just the people from your own organization, but other organizations supporting you, in particular in developing your projects and through Agile. How do you bring that presence and that unity when they're all tend to be sharing different values and they're purely in there to be a resource?
When I work with cross-organizational teams, I don't think that the values are so much different. The values are often, most teams I'm working with from external parties know about Agile and Lean. And one of the principles there is collaboration, cross-functional collaboration. And the reason behind it is knowledge sharing and looking at a problem from different angles. And this is where values are already being shared across the board, and the transparency is key. The other thing is using the right tool set to support a collaborative habit and collaborative process. Simple things like a Jira board can go miles, because suddenly people look at the same tickets and talk about the same issues and not go away in different corners and follow their own agendas.
Thanks, Zack. Alexander Gio, I was just checking my notes. You're the one who have worked with Zack, right? Alexander? Yes?
Alex A or myself?
Alex G, unless I took wrong.
There are two Alexes here.
Yeah.
Two Alex G's here.
Whichever Alex have worked with Zack, who was that? Was Alexander Jew here?
I've been working with Zack.
Ah, that's you, Gently. Sorry, I took it wrong.
Hello.
Okay. So, would you like to add anything, Alexander? I know that was not Andronacci, because Andronacci working for Alexander Nacci, but would you like to make any comments or add anything about? No, that's totally unplanned, Zack. Unexpected. Any additional comments on working with Zack?
Well, I think that I would add that working with Zack, he actually brought very great experience to IT team, and probably one of best experience in my life. He brought agile through our organization. He brought transparency, and he brought something like so people and team would like to work and continue to work around Zack as a leader. He said, and he got a vision, and that's aspiration, and that leadership was really exciting in my experience.
Thanks,
Great.
Sasha.
Thanks. A genuine, very genuine testimony on the spot, Zack. Good stuff, guys. All right. So thanks again, Zack. I think we'll keep going. We definitely could continue that conversation. Looks like a few more comments there in the chat about your perspective, your view. But our next section is very important as well, which is where you get to share your perspective in